On January 25th, 1952, Pablo Ortiz, one of the heroes of September 11th, is born in New York City.
But who was Pablo Ortiz? And what did he do to save others that fateful day? Also, how are he and others from 9/11 honored today?
Pablo Ortiz was a former Navy SEAL who worked as a construction superintendent with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, the organization that managed the World Trade Center. Ortiz worked on the 88th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower at 8:46 a.m. The impact zone was 5 floors above his office. Ortiz went into action, along with a group of colleagues that included Frank DeMartini, Pete Negron, and Carlos da Costa. They cleared debris and determined that only one stairwell was accessible. The group led the people on their floor to that stairwell. Then, equipped with flashlights and crowbars, they began a floor-by-floor search for survivors. They freed people trapped in elevators. They forced open jammed doors and led people to safety. Survivor Walter Polipiak said of Ortiz that day, quote, "When he said, 'let's go,' I didn't ask questions. I just got up and followed his instructions and followed him out into the hall." End quote. Not once did Ortiz or his colleagues choose to follow those they had rescued down the stairwell. Another survivor, Louis Leshy, said of them, quote, "That's the difference between people like me and heroes who stop and say, 'Is there anybody I can help get out?'" End quote. Ortiz's wife, Edna, told a historian from the 9/11 Memorial and Museum that she was communicating with her husband that morning via pager. At 10:28 a.m., her last page to him remained unanswered. At that moment, she said she turned to her television and watched her husband's building crumble before her eyes. Ortiz and his co-workers were last seen on the 78th floor, continuing their floor-by-floor sweep. It is estimated that they saved at least 50 people, and perhaps as many as 77. Ortiz's name is etched on a panel at the 9/11 Memorial at the World Trade Center site. It is a fitting tribute to a true hero and to the nearly 3,000 people who died that day. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1863, Lincoln removes Ambrose Burnside, for whom sideburns are named, as Union Army commander. In 1890, inspired by a Jules Verne novel, Nellie Bly completes a 72-day solo journey around the world. In 1905, the world's largest diamond, the 3,106-carat Cullinan diamond, is discovered in South Africa. In 1924, the first ever Winter Olympics open in the French Alps with just 14 events and 16 nations. In 1961, John F. Kennedy becomes the first U.S. president to hold a live television news conference. In 1971, cult leader Charles Manson and 3 of his followers are convicted of 7 brutal murders. In 2024, a beloved statue of baseball legend Jackie Robinson is stolen from a public park in Wichita. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. What is the record for the highest ever fall without a parachute from which a person survived? 300 feet, 3,000 feet, 13,000 feet, or 33,000 feet?
Liked learning about Pablo Ortiz and his heroic actions on 9/11? Then you'll love this one about how rescuers helped free an 18-month-old child stuck in a well in Texas. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.